Waiting for the bus in Las Cruces. This is a public bus. It's called the Roadrunner service. Looks like it's coming. This is a big mall, but like I just arrived here by bus, and there's no way as a pedestrian to walk down to this mall from the bus stop. So even if you go down to end it as sidewalk, it's just not a place that's made for pedestrians. Hey, I'm in Las Cruces, New Mexico at the Mesilla Valley Mall, right? And I was walking through and I saw there's a watch repair, G&J watch repair. So I met Ed here, and so when I walked up, he was working on a $5,000 Cartier. You know, when somebody has a watch like that, they want it done right, and that's basically what Ed does, right?
Yes, I'm the only game in town that does real watch work as opposed to battery changes. So crystals, movements, crowns, stems, whatever. It's nothing we can't replace or take care of.
Yeah. We started talking. I was like, so Ed, how'd you learn watch repair? And he said, oh, 23 years ago or so, I was just fooling around and I realized I was good at it. And so you're pretty much self-trained, right?
Yes, sir.
But then I told him I had a YouTube channel and I was learning like how to rebuild old watches. And he's like, oh, I got this box of tools in my trunk of my car. And we were talking about one thing I had on my, what's it called, Panerai. I had opened it up because the setting wheel was spinning free, or the hands, something was happening. I couldn't wind it or something. Anyway, I said that to Ed, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the screw was loose, right?" Like he didn't even I didn't even finish my sentence, and I was like, so he showed me the box of tools and said, "If you want any of this stuff, you could have it." So I was like, "Oh my God, that is so cool." So I have the stuff. I'll show you guys the stuff that he gave me, and a lot of it is kind of old, and I don't know what it is. But there's a really cool thing in there, which are some winders, mainspring winders, so I know what those are about. But the funny thing is, Ed asked me, he said, do you have your own mainspring winders? That was like his test to find out if I knew what I was doing. And I was like, no, man, I can't afford those. So he was like, oh, man, I got this box.
Right.
Anyway, you guys, I'll go through the stuff now, and thanks a lot, Ed.
Take one shot on my back.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
All right.
From Las Cruces, New Mexico, you guys. Thanks a lot. Hey, so I'm back in Geneva. Thanks a lot to Ed for the parts I'm about to show you, or the tools. So the first thing I'll go through are the winders. So these are Watchcraft, and when I saw this, I was like, bracelet mainspring winder. Why would a bracelet have a mainspring? But I realized at the time that every watches were pocket watches. So the distinction of bracelet meant it was just what we consider a wristwatch today. Bracelet, mainspring winders. So there was more than a full set here, and they range in size from large to very small. And I'll get into how they work in a moment. But basically, let me see how to do this. These are fixed sizes. Let me just quickly do one. So basically they're fixed size, and this is the arbor side. There's a tiny little extension that grasps the spring, and it's designed to have a hook on one side and be smooth on the other. You can't see it here. Well, maybe you can. Let me switch. Yeah, you can see it there. So the sharp side is this side. So that means it'll pull the mainspring that direction. So you put the mainspring around the arbor, and then you just pull it, you turn like this. And to get the spring to kind of click onto it, you can push this a little bit. So you wind it in, and then after it's wound in, you push it out by pushing on this plunger in the back. And that pushes it out into the barrel. Okay, so that's how those work. And then there were also these two, which are variable in size. So there's a large one, and the same thing. Oh, this has the arbor hook or whatever is kind of weird on this one. I guess it's there, yeah. It's there. It seems like it's kind of neither left nor right, for whatever that's worth. Maybe that's a good thing. But works the same way. Oh, I know what the difference is. Also, there's two different arbor diameters. So this is a fatter arbor. This is a thinner arbor. So you can flip it either way. And then the way that this works is it's like a pin vise. It changes the diameter of the barrel just by loosening or tightening this ring. So this is the large range. And then there's this one's called baguette watch, which I guess means even smaller than a bracelet watch. So you can see this is a smaller range. And then same principle though. And then the arbor for this is this arbor is kind of weird. I feel like that needs a little repair. It's kind of mushy on this side. Should be a tooth there and it's not there. But this is the same. There's some arbors exactly like this in the kit. So if I wanted to use that, I think I could use an arbor from the fixed winder set. Okay, so and then the other thing Ed gave me was this. Looks like it belonged to Tom Brown. And this also has Tom Brown's name on it, from Salamanca, New York. This says it's an Adolf Schild 1012, but I think all I found in here was a screw. Oh, it looks like, what's it called? Impulse jewel and roller table for something. AS1012 MEA replacement. It's interesting. Please check this roller. Oh yeah, I'm unable to use this as it is bent. Please send me a replacement. Okay, so he sent this to somebody and they were supposed to check it and send a replacement. Not sure if they did or not. But so this case is a Marshall pocket watch winder set. And the way this works, unfortunately, it's missing two of the winders. So it has, they come with 6. This one has 4. And then, so if you were using the largest one, you connect it like this. This is your plunger side of it. And then this is your arbor. Again, it has 2 different sizes You can use it with a smaller arbor or a larger arbor, depending on the position of that. And then you plug it in and crank it like this. And then when you're done, you know, use this to push it out into the mainspring barrel. And I'm not sure, I don't see that this is left or right because these teeth are not biased either way. So I think this could be turned to, this could be clockwise or counterclockwise. So that's kind of cool. I don't have that many pocket watch projects, but I do have one. So it's nice to know that I have a winder. So those are the winders. And then he also gave me a bunch of spare parts. So I have like a mainspring and a barrel, which I'll do a demo of at the end, like what I've learned about the winders so far. Now, this is the box of most of the tools that Ed gave me, and I think my plan here is just to show you them, tell you what I think they might be, but also invite your comments if you know what something here is and if I've misidentified it. So let's just go through the things that are obvious to quickly reduce the clutter. So we got some tweezers. And these are just want to see if they're have any branding on them. Marshall also, C&L Marshall Watchcraft. Okay, so Marshall and Watchcraft are the same, but it's made in Switzerland, but I think those are American companies. Now, one thing about this is that it has a very small opening, so very light touch. And I'm not sure if that's normal or if they're damaged. Like, it seems like it should spring open a bit more. If anybody has an opinion on that, let me know. I don't have any of this type of tweezer right now that are nice for like tweaking things like this, so that's cool to have that. And then this is a Dumont number 5. I do have that already. And this is a Dumont number 5 also. That looks nice. I have some anti-rust. I can soak these in, bring them back to nice finish. And I'm curious if these are both Dumont number 5. I guess they look about the same. So that's cool. Next, somehow I got these through carry-on on the airplane, which I found kind of shocking. Be a nice ice pick murder weapon. I think they were mixed in with all this other stuff, and the person who looked at the x-ray just didn't bother. So they didn't bother distinguishing. So these are either, I think they're graver, what's it called? Like I think they're for lathe. I think they're called gravers in French. But I was hoping that they might be diamond files for polishing pivots, but I don't see any evidence of that. I think that they're just for lathe. And then there's some evidence of annealing on this one. So it's probably hardened steel. So those are the gravures. And then, oh, this is kind of obvious. This is just a thing for working on, it's a movement holder. Like this is the modern movement holder, and this is a old movement holder. I don't see any branding on that. I can also anti-rust and clean this up. So this has 4 different sizes. The modern ones have 2. This is, it seems like it's a specialized movement holder, but I don't know. We thought, Ed and I thought this might be a Rolex wrench, but it's not. It's not a wrench for the 34 millimeter or 36 millimeter. And it doesn't, I don't think it's actually yeah, it's too big for either 34 or 36, and it's so old. At this time, Rolex didn't make anything bigger than 36, I don't think. And it also, I feel like it had something written on it. Maybe not, though. So if anybody has idea what movement that's for, assuming that's what it, oh, it does say something right there. Made in USA HR. Okay, these guys are balance. This is Watchcraft, Marshall. I'm not sure if this is for larger balances or if it's just big, just more robust. It's probably for larger ones and more robust. The interesting thing about this is that it actually expands straight open and straight closed, which makes more sense to me than this, which is, the brand is Arrow, and this kind of opens at an angle, like it's going to introduce an angle here when you open one side. And that seems weird to me for pivots on a balanced staff. And then you can see here there's a certain size pivot that this would be appropriate for. And I noticed one of these seems to be double drilled for some reason. I don't think that would matter. I'm not sure why there's extra drill point there. And then we can compare just to see if the pocket watch theory is correct or not. I would say that this looks like the pivot hole is larger in this one. But that looks pretty small. So perhaps this is both, like a slightly smaller pivot here, larger pivot here. And then this has holes in the side, which could be for simply for viewing or for putting a pin in there to turn these and remove them if they screw out, which it looks like they probably do. But those holes are also lined up visually perpendicular to the plane of the tool, which might indicate that they are actually for looking in at the pivot. Anyway, I forget what these are called, but we know what they are. It's for truing a balance or something like that. You can be more specific if you want to volunteer. A little piece of pegwood, which, that's funny, one side is heavily used and one side is not used. Okay, so now we're getting down to slightly more mysterious items. But the first one is, this is some kind of cannon pinion puller. So what happens here is when you pull back, this kind of chuck comes out and grips probably the seconds hand or the pinion, and then it pulls it up. It grabs it and pulls it up against the pressure of this, which would be against the balance or the jewel, or the balance or a wheel. But this is a very specific diameter. So I think it's kind of a specific tool. It's 11.4 millimeter diameter. So you have to have the wheel that you use to, whatever you pull this out of, you have to have at least 11.4 diameter, thing for it to pull against. And then you also have a fairly specific diameter of the pin that's being pulled. And this says patent 2342. Man, that is a low patent number. Patent 2342. I don't see any other insignia on it. Could try to figure out what that patent is for. So now this, I'm not sure what this is for, but leave that for a second. These things, there's a large one and a small one. And I did a Google search on this, so I'll just show you, first of all, what I discovered just by looking at it. This slides in and out and can be tightened here. And if you slide it all the way out, it has what looks like a pivot hole in the end of it. It has a hole through the tip, a lateral hole. It has one flat side where you can lock, using this, you can lock it in. It has something that looks like it would also, has a flat side here to put that in some kind of chuck. It's knurled on this end to help you grab it to rotate it. And inside, it just goes down to a flat surface. Now, I already did some research about what this is, but I didn't explore it. So there's this one, which is large, and then there's this one, which seems to be similar, but smaller and perhaps jammed. Nothing, this doesn't want to move right now, even when this is loose. So that just could be kind of corroded in place. But those are obviously similar things. And so what I did for this was I took a picture. I took a picture here and I uploaded it to Google Lens. And I found an eBay listing for a balance wheel Ballon Chuck collet. Looks like a very similar thing. And then I Googled that and I found J.D. Richard, who is a YouTuber that I follow, who's got some excellent videos. He has a video about the watchmaker's Ballon Chucks. Oh, so chuck would mean, what does that mean? So I'm going to put a link to this in the description in case you're looking for what exactly this is. Oh, maybe there's is that a grabber? That looks super interesting, but I'm going to save it for later. So we'll see. I think you guys know how to use Google Lens, but basically I did this with a, basically you just drag and drop an image into the Google search engine on the browser, and then it finds similar images. So I don't, this didn't find This found things that look like the Watchcraft winding mainspring winder, but I don't see any actually mainspring winders. Okay, so anyway, our Ballon Chucks are there. So this thing, this looks like another movement holder, but a very strange one because there's nothing to grip. It's got some grip on this side actually. That could grip a movement pretty well. But this side, oh, maybe it does have a grip. It does have a very gentle lip here. So this is probably for a specific movement, or pair of movements, or type of movement. I don't see any brand on this, but it's pretty obviously a movement holder. Okay, so these wheels are, there's a couple different things. These just seem to be punches. And this system, this is almost like a Delrin material or something here. I don't think it's metal. So these are some kind of punches. These are strange, I guess they're punches also, but if anybody knows what those are for, let me know. It's just different sizes of a kind of pyramid-topped bit. And then these are, this is a different system, these two, and these seem to be more like screwdriver bits that are special. So like a 2-point bit, a 4-point, another 2-point, nothing at that position. I don't know if these pull out. There's a different diameter 2-point, different diameter 4.2, 4, 2, 4. So I guess that's all 2-point and 4-point kind of screwdriver bits. There's missing a 4-point here maybe. And then these are the same thing, just a different range. 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2. All right. So if anybody knows what those bits are for, let me know. Okay, so then here we have some kind of, this feels to me, looks to me like it's for removing a roller table from a fairly large balance, perhaps a pocket watch balance. So you would jam something in there, finding the width of whatever the shoulder it's on or whatever in this V, and then let that pull up. Now the thing is, this being round means it would pull against, I guess, just crossbar, like the crossbars on a balance wheel, if I'm correct about that. Let me jump. These are some parts he gave me also. These are large kind of, these are not even balance wheels though. Maybe they are from, see if there's a, there's no good part in there to experiment on. But anyway, that's my theory about what that is. And then I think it's for a pocket watch just because it's, like I removed the balance from a very small lady's watch and it was so tiny, the roller table, I mean. This is a 10 millimeter diameter, whatever. This just seems kind of coarse, like a for a pocket watch. And then there's this thing. So this is Elgin and H.G. Wilson, Elgin, Illinois. So I guess it's not Elgin Watch Company, it's just Elgin, the town. And this screws in, and as you screw it in, you can change how close these points are to each other. As you screw it in, they get closer. And you can use the hole here to insert something to give you some leverage for tightening. Looks a little bit damaged, the teeth here. This tooth looks a little bit broken. And this is looks like about a 1mm screwdriver. So this could be for pulling, also could be for pulling something. Reach under something and pull it. And then when you remove this completely, it pretty much screws in all the way up to the end of this. And that threading there that you see is actually for the bit. It's on the inside. See that? So the only way that this could be held by something else would be if it was in some kind of chuck. So you could have a large pin vise type chuck for it, or I don't think it rotates fast like on a lathe, but could be. And I don't think this has anything to do with it. No. So there's that. If you know what that is, let me know. This thing, I have no idea. It rotates like this. Doesn't have any branding on it. And then this piece, this piece will go up like that. Or down. It could be, you use it for truing a balance. And it's just missing the rest of the, like this could be to see if a balance is spinning in here. No, I don't know. I don't know what this is. Anybody knows, let me know. This is some kind of, something's broken. Now the thing about this is it seems similar in terms of, it's very similar. Oh, very similar to the Ballon Chuck. Except for it has no, it's some kind of a chuck. Oh, it could be that you put a cutting wheel on here. No. Well, it's some kind of chuck. And then, let's look at these guys. This, I would say, is just a bit, it's got a hard rubber. It's a hard rubber wheel, and you could throw that into something. It could be like a rubber polishing wheel, or something that goes in the collet, no, the chuck of a lathe or tool, rotary tool. This almost seems like it's a pin vise type thing. Like there could be chucks that are missing from this side of it. So when you tighten it, it grabs something and then it lets you rotate something. It's not for that diameter. But whatever goes inside there, it needs to. It doesn't. It's missing the whole mechanism that would actually tighten whatever it is. See how? And maybe I'm wrong about that actually. It's not clear what that is. I don't really see what's going on here either. K and D, Kendrick and Davis or whatever, Kendrick and Davis from Lebanon, New Hampshire. Same manufacturer as Watchcraft. Or same as the, not Watchcraft, but these winders, Kendrick and Davis. So let me know if you know what that is. Okay, this is just a movement ring for inside of some kind of a watch. That should be in the parts, actually. This, I don't know. These things, don't know. Just some old gear, who knows. Okay, now we're down to this, and this had some good hints. There's two of these. There was only one in the box at first, but almost seems like they're the same. So the question is, oh, and then they have a whole, oh, they say H.G. Wilson Elgin. The holes on the bottom look to be about the same. It'll sit on this, but it's not tight, so I don't think that's, I think that's just coincidence. So this thing, probably somebody just made this on a lathe. It looks homemade for whatever that is. And then these guys came with some kind of instructions. Oh wait, that's interesting. So this actually refers to this. It's a roller remover, incomplete. But this is just some kind of carrying case. I'm not sure that it really needs any more than this piece. Roller remover for a 5.5, that's probably large. Marsh balance screw undercutters. Rex roller remover. But that, I don't think that that's the same as whatever this is. There's no relationship there. Oh, so this, but it does. Marsh screw undercutters for timing and poising balances. And this was in that box. But maybe this should be in the box. It's strange. I'm going to get the microscope on this thing. So I'm going to put this back in this box. because it matches the picture in the instructions, and the instructions matches the wording on there. And then these, let's look at the microscope. Oh, we can try the Google image search also. So there's some type of cutting. It does seem like there's some kind of cutter on there. And this one just kind of looks newer and sharper. This just looks a bit worn out. I guess you could unscrew this, pull that bit out. But anyway, that's strange. Yeah. If anybody knows what those are, let me know. Oh, what was in here? Oh, so there's this, which I think are movement holders for pocket watches, or maybe all kinds. I mean, these are small. And they hint on this, they are watchcraft, so. Got the Russian doll thing going on. So there's that. I guess they're just movement holders. If there's something other than that, let me know. These seem like wooden pocket watch movement holders. And then this, I think this is the final tool thing. This is just some tubing. Just kind of really narrow tubing. Not sure why. It's around less than a millimeter. 0.2 inch. Not sure what that's for. Okay, so the other thing is, now I'm going to get into, he also gave me these parts. So this is kind of interesting. It's just parts ordering envelopes from back in the day. Meredith Jewelry, Yanktown, South Dakota, to the Gemex Corporation. Pre-addressed Bellevance. Mr. Retail Jeweler, to expedite this Bellevance service job, please observe the following. Include only one repair job in each envelope. Give full instructions here, not separately. Use only this envelope to send repair. Send by first-class mail for faster service. Your repair order will be serviced and returned to you within 24 hours of arrival at our factory. That's pretty impressive. It's a lot faster than Apple. So those are kind of fun. Okay, and then there's these two parts. This was just some kind of giant balance from clocks or something much bigger than even a pocket watch. It does seem to have some kind of impulse thing on it, but and then this giant mainspring, larger than a pocket watch. Maybe it's from an alarm clock or desk clock or something. And then these are just little parts. So, oh, there is a kind of larger balance wheel, but it doesn't have a roller table on it anyway. But I thought these would be fun just to, you know, have experiment with certain things. I doubt there's any useful parts in there, but you never know. And then I'll just quickly go through these. Oh, this one I love actually. So this I was surprised when I looked in it, just because I don't have that much experience with really old jewels. So if you look at this, first of all, there's some parts in here. Where are they? Here's a balance staff that's, the pivots on both sides are missing. Here's a blued hand from something. Now these things are really interesting. They're so small they look like hairs, but they are, I'm pretty sure these are just kind of tube stock, and this one is changing diameter like these. And these are for, this is, I forget the name of it, but you know, it's like the triangular, I saw this recently on the balance assembly of IWC. That is a freaking tiny part, but basically you would put this through it to hold it in place. And then these pins may also be used in balance assemblies as the, here's another type of, but I mean, these parts are just insanely small, but you still have to put them in place somehow, right? So you would stick it through something, stick this pin through there. And then the other thing is these broken jewels, nothing too spectacular there. I'm not sure, these jewels that are in, here's more of those balance parts. Look at that thing. Oh yeah, so there's an example of, it's actually, you put the mainspring on it and then you anchor it to it and then you stick that pin through there. It's kind of evidence of what I'm saying it is. So that seems interesting and potentially useful. Like, oops, is that one? No, that's just a scratch. Okay, so perhaps there's other microscope material there, but for now. What did I do? I opened this. Oh, this is some kind of grinding wheel or cutter. It's kind of similar to what I use on Dremel tool. It's a very abrasive disc. Miscellaneous screws and small parts. There's a dial washer. Those can be interesting. There's some kind of hand in there that shouldn't be in there. It's gonna get destroyed. pallet fork. The pivots even seem to be intact. Part of a balance assembly. Oh, that maybe should go in this other one because it's kind of related to... Actually, both of these things I'm going to throw in here. There's a jewel. Oh no, what is that? Anyway, I can leave these open for now. I don't know what to do with this hand now that I got it. Some mainsprings, hairsprings. Seem to be different sizes, kind of interesting. Oh, so one thing that's fun about this is just identifying stuff. Like as an amateur, when you see something you don't understand, it's interesting. There's a tiny hairspring. Balance. And these weird jewel settings. A bunch more. Miscellaneous small parts. Maybe at some point these will turn out to all be from a similar watch or whatever. These are just some empty case parts. For friendly service, Burton Reed & Sons, first in Washington, Springfield, Illinois. Watchmaker and jewelers, tools, materials, and supplies. Hairspring vibrating MJ Silbert, Elgin, Illinois. And then this has like sawdust in it. I don't know if that's how they scent stuff. It doesn't really make sense. Hairspring Vibrating Company. Know your vibrator. Balance and is that seems to be intact. Huh. Probably just from some project, but the watchmaker took care of it because he wanted to not break those pivots. Here's a couple dials. Now these are just, oh, these do say Combine. This one says Combine and Swiss. These are quite small and in quite bad condition. La Romaine. Looks like the manufacturer. This one doesn't have a manufacturer. There's a kind of large balance wheel and spring. Pivots look kind of intact, but maybe bent. The roller table, if that's the roller table, is off. That could be the one that he had the roller table problem with. No, that's a much smaller roller table. Look at that. I can eventually look up that out of shield part number. This is a pocket watch or something that's quite big. Oh, you can see the weights on this are threaded. I've never seen that before. I'm sure everybody else has, but those are all threaded weights, which is, I have some IWCs, and you have these kind of inserted weights, but it's not clear that they thread in. And it seems like just changing their distance from the center would not be enough to really make that big of a difference, but I guess it is. That, again, that pivots on that look good. Roller table, impulse jewel. All looks good. These are some very tiny screws. Like, maybe I just haven't seen a tiny screw lately, but that is a tiny screw. And that's a tiny balance staff with pivots intact. Another balance wheel and not mainspring. These, you can also see the threading on the weights. Once again, the pivots are good on this. All the weights are in place, so maybe that's kind of new old stock. It almost doesn't look centered, but like this is the kind of thing I could play around with on a truing you know, I have this tool for oopsie. The way this tool works, it allows you to check if your balance is balanced. So you adjust it. I think I'm going to need the microscope. Well, no, actually I can see. So you need that to rest on the pivots themselves, like that. And then oh, and then this has to be level, so it comes with a level. I think I paid less than $50 for this. So then I've seen people do this using like a hair, or a brush. I think I have a brush. This is kind of way too big of a brush, but basically you can use a brush with a single hair. And there you can see that that's way out of balance. So basically that's what that tool is for. And that's something that I could play around with, because this balance wheel is this system of weights with screws. So you could try to remove the screws that you don't need to make that balance balanced. Fun little exercise. Oops. Spirit level. Okay, what else do we have? That's the thing I just closed. That's just a mainspring, hairspring. Miscellaneous screws on the large size. Miscellaneous, oh, Bulova, that's interesting. Bulova crown, old school, it's nice. Now some of these parts, I just left them with where they are because they could belong to a specific movement or whatever. Could just pile them all together, but then you'll never figure out what they belong to. There's some more crowns. Let's see if any of these are signed. Spring bar, some stems, some keyless work. That's a arbor, barrel arbor. Maybe I would need that in my barrel collection. Yeah, so it's fun to play, identify the part. Eventually, you have to have those skills sharp for assembly and disassembly. Here we have some parts that seem specific. That's missing a pivot on the top side and a bent pivot on the bottom side. Oh, this is interesting. So this is an entire movement. So let's just take a look at this. I gotta wrap this up because it's been an hour already. I should be more gentle with this. First of all, is that missing a hand or are they overlapping? It has both hands. And this appears to be a here's the thing. I have a feeling there's broken pivot on the balance staff. because that would be a typical problem that would result in somebody not returning the balance to the movement. They'd be waiting for a part. But actually, that pivot looks okay. Both of those pivots look okay. Gold-filled crown. See if we can figure out why they didn't reassemble this. It's running pretty well. That's just from touching the hands. It's getting that power just from. So that's what movement is that? Rubaiyat W Company, O Berkey, 17 joules, 3 adjustments, Swiss. Did we see a fork? No, there's no palette fork in this. Also, that is a strange balance. What the hell? That must be damaged. Like, there's no way. But how would that damage happen? Hairspring is screwed up. The balance is cracked. And there's no... Ugh. Anyway. That's a fun project. Let's see, well, I got the microscope here. This is a collection of springs and screws. These are some tiny washers. Okay, I'm totally going nuts here. Anything in there? Empty tube. Oh, I can put my hand in there. So this says Alvin, but this is a dummy. It says Alvin Swiss, but it's a dummy dial. And the reason I know that is because I already looked at it. So this, even back this long ago, well, actually, that's the actual cannon pinion. So it's just off its movement. I thought it was like a cosmetic dummy. Oh, this is a Bulova dial I looked at before. That is a beautiful little dial. And he knew it. He took care of it. Very nice. Elgin dial in rough shape. Broken pallet fork jewel. Another pallet fork with a jewel looks odd, but maybe it's okay. There's a bridge, pallet fork bridge, I think. Anyway, see, some of these parts might correspond with some of the movements, but even if they do, it's hardly worth. Bamware? That's weird. AS624. So this is another kind of full project. There's our barrel bridge. Stem and crown. Oh, this could be, that's probably, wait. I wonder if that, no, because that's a seconds hand. It's probably missing the balance, right? Yeah. No, balance is there. Trying to see if there's a spring. I don't see the hairspring on that. So again, that's a out-off shield 624 partial. Probably not worth doing anything with. But there you go. We're almost done, guys. This is the last little thing. Timex dial. Not Swiss. Couple little parts. Bosch's SA. Wasn't there another one of these rings? There we go. I'll pack this up later. Oh, so there's one other thing I want to talk about, which is, if anybody watched to this point, first of all, you're insane, and second of all, you deserve this extra bit of information. This dial has a logo on it, and this is the kind of thing I love. Like, first of all, the dial has it's stamped with this pattern. I've never seen such an elaborate pattern stamped in a dial. And it also, I looked at the manufacturer or the signature on it, and it says Progressia. So right here it says Progressia, Progresia. And I Googled that, and I got the Progressia. I think the interesting thing, microlisk is a list of trademarks. So if you don't know this website, it's mikrolisk.de. It's super important for this kind of looking up old stuff. And then if you find Progressia on here, I might have to do a search within the page. That's weird. Did I spell it wrong? What did I do wrong here? Progressia. Oh, I left out the... No, that's right. Okay, so the interesting... You find this Progressia blah, blah, blah. Now, what I did after that was I searched this term. And then I found this RERO. This is like a website of just Swiss documents that people have chosen to upload from history. And one of these, yeah, so this is an interesting book. It's from 1924, and it's published in Bielbienne or Bern. And then this is also on this RERO website. But then if you search this for Progressia, you find this, they made metal, cadran means dial, and then they're in the town of Nidau. So then you can do Google Maps and you can put in Nidau. And then you can click on, I'm going too fast here, but basically I'm in Geneva. Nidau is near Bielbienne, which is where Swatch Group is headquartered. And also Rolex has facilities there. It's like a huge watchmaking area, but Nidau is just a suburb of that. And then you can look at photos. And this kind of thing, because I live here, I love this because I want to, like, any kind of connection back to history from these objects is interesting to me. And this, remember, this is like a dial from a watch, or from a watch repair, or from the 1920s, ended up in the United States. And then it's back in Switzerland, and it's some novel piece of history for me to look at and research and analyze. And I just think that that's super fun. So, the other thing that was in that kit was a couple of trays and some kind of containers. I think that's everything. Yeah. And then one other thing, just because I'm set up here with the Geiger counter. This was a watch that my mom gave me that was my dad's, that I covered in a different video, but this is a radium. You can see how crazy all this has is radium indices, these tiny white dots, which are original, and the radium in the hands. And that is a very high level of radium. My dad gave my mom this watch in 1962 when he bought this watch for himself. This has tritium dial, and the hands have been replaced. I think they're not tritium. I think they may be superluminova, but because I think they were replaced after the year 2000. So this is basically not radioactive, but the tritium loom is no longer working on this watch. And what's amazing about this watch is that radium loom is still working. And it doesn't need, you see where it's getting its energy. The loom is getting its energy from radioactivity, and that is still works without any charging. You can see this watch at night, all night long, and this was made in 1952. So it's going on 75 years old. Still luminous, doesn't require any charging, but still radioactive as hell. Now radioactive as hell means nothing. It's as radioactive as any other watch I've ever seen that's got radium on it. But my dad bought this in 1952. In 1962, he gave it to my mom after he wore it for 10 years. And then my mom wore it until a couple years ago, all the time. So she wore it for for almost 60 years, 50 years, 60 years. 62, basically my entire life, she wore this watch. And she's 87 and she's not dying of radiation sickness or anything. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, for me, like, what a fantastic heirloom. And I think it's so cool that the dial still looks great. There's a tiny bit of radium burn in the center. You see it's a little bit yellowing in the center. But that is a beautiful dial. Still works, doesn't have date, which I love. It was my mom's and my dad's. Just love this watch. I put this is a Jubilee, 19 millimeter Jubilee bracelet from, this is kind of interesting too. I bought it in Mexico City in 1987. And this is a real Rolex strap. If you don't know about them, Rolex licensed Josques in Mexico the right to make Rolex bracelets in Mexico. And it had to do with Mexico would not allow, it was a trade and tariff thing, like Mexico wanted Rolex to contribute to the Mexican economy, or they wouldn't let them do other activities like sell their watches in Mexico. So Rolex made this deal, and I think I engraved this. When I came back to New York from Mexico, I engraved Mexico City, August 1987. Probably destroyed the value of it. But for me, this is like just an incredible heirloom. I love it. Okay, so thanks again. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. And that's it for now.